Egg.
Waar hey, Rainbow Punchy.
Egg.
Wow, you got me good. I got so scared. I got so Gregory jump scared forever. Oh no. I'm gonna die now.
Car battery!
Oh, I'm gonna die! Ah! Woo, squid! Hi everyone. Hello. I hope you've all had a very good weekend. Or I guess just Monday. I guess just I hope you had I hope you survived. Oh! I'm not gonna survive! Ooh. Head for Derek. I'll do that soon. What was I gonna say? What was I talking about? Right. I hope you all survived Monday. Want ik heb jullie niet meer gezien sinds zondag. Toen ik 2 Sonic streams had. Dus ik hoop dat jullie, een goede maandag hebben gehad en zo. Wat heb ik zelf gedaan allemaal gisteren? Aardlingplant. Heel erg bedankt voor het volgen. Dankjewel. What was it? What did I do yesterday? Did I do anything yesterday? Wait, I already started talking in English even though it was still the flag. I'm so sorry. I was still supposed to be Dutch, but I was already English. I accidentally shifted back into it. But what did I do on Monday? Did I do like fucking anything? Did I like sleep through the whole day? I don't remember. I must have done something. I watched Witches with some friends, Little Witch Academia. I think I might have played a little bit of Cyberpunk 2077. You did the schedule. We're on your stream, played Cyberpunk. Thank you, Jody. Yes, a large portion of the day was devoted to to making my schedule this week because there was a lot of figuring out what I was actually gonna do. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about that. And no, I do not remember the incident. Luckily, I assume. You did be cute. Oh, thanks. So this week I will be streaming 4 times, as usual. Four times. Today we're streaming Gregory Horror Show, Gregorian Frightful Performance, you know. And then usually I would stream tomorrow on Wednesday, but on Wednesday I'm actually gonna go to a Shakespeare performance. Ooh, yes, I'm very fancy, don't you know? I'm also very cultured. So I will not be streaming tomorrow. Instead, I will be streaming on Thursday, which some of you might know is usually reserved for either me chilling that evening or watching a movie, but I will be streaming because otherwise I wouldn't have 4 streams in a week, and that's sad. And so on Thursday I will be streaming Luigi's Mansion again, and we are going to try to play more than 10 minutes of it this time. Since we don't have the technical difficulties to start with at the beginning, that'll already help, and hopefully we can stay a bit more focused instead of going on endless fucking tangents the whole time. Although they are funny, so it's not that big of a deal, I feel. Am I glowing more than usual, or is it just a contrast with the background? I think it's because of the background. I think my glow tends to kind of get lost against the blue sometimes a little bit more, but it's more visible in purple, I think. Well, I mean, maybe I am glowing more. It is my month after all, you know? It is me, Spectral Queen, it's my month. But, Hi! Hello, Widless. So that's on Thursday. And then on Saturday... Sonic music, yes! I love Sonic. I've got a Sonic model, even. That's how much I love it. Na 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 na. Okay, anyway, I'm also not streaming on Friday because I'm watching a horror movie because it's Friday the 13th this week, which would have been very fun to stream something on the Friday the 13th, but what's also very fun is that instead Luke, my friend Luke, who you might know as being someone who comes on here sometimes, will come over and we're gonna watch horror movies together on the Friday the 13th, which is very fun. Ow! I've seen the Sonic Sono model, yes. Okay, well, good. Then you know. Instead, I will be streaming on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, I will be streaming... what was it? I almost got it. It's in my head. Right, I remember now. Luke is going to be staying over, and so we are going to be streaming a Haunted PS1 demo disc collection together. If you know those, then you know that they're very fun and good and such. And so we are going to be streaming those together in the space. We're going to be in the meat space together, so that's fun. And finally, on Sunday, it is my HRT anniversary, which is big, fat, fucking exciting. I'm so, you know, that's a big deal. Oh, also, Pyronoid, hi, hello. It'll be my 3rd anniversary of having started, yay, hormone replacement therapy, which is very cool and good and exciting and such. And to celebrate, we will be playing a game that played a significant part in my gender awakening, in the cracking of my egg, you know? On the first anniversary, we played Mega Man ZX, which is like the biggest contributor. But then the last year, I was actually on hiatus during October, which is big sad. I wasn't able to do much for my favorite holiday at all, which, you know, me. But this year we are playing, and we're going to be playing Phantasy Star Zero. Both those games, by the way, Mega Man ZX and Phantasy Star Zero were on the DS, so like it was kind of like near the end of the DS lifetime that I really like started to question myself a little bit, you know. And it's a game where you can play as a girl robot. They're actually both games where you can play as a girl robot, so that says a lot, I think, you know. Anyway, so I'm going to be playing that, and that's going to be nice and exciting. But today we're going to be playing Gregory Horror Show. But first, let me deal with the stuff up there, the little redeems and such. Whoa! Okay, give me just a moment. Get this. Oh, I see some U-bots are stuck. Let me just help you out there. Go to the right folder. There we are. I remember Mischief Makers because Girl Robot, also very good and fair. I never actually beat Mischief Makers, even though I have it physically. Something to remember. Anyway, okay. I'm the music. It's too good, and it's like the beginning of a week. I still gotta like get into it. You know what I mean? I guess. If you have but one little point, then you can spend it to get your egg on stream, and we can build egg stacks together, which is nice. And the first egg of the day goes to a Jody. I mean, well, yeah, Jody, but Dynalope at Trimtoa. Let me make this a little bit lower. There we go. Kira Cat. Esteemed Jester. Viridescent Fae. Muzzle Flash. Fred Fox. Polar Stars. Rutsutera. Mike Loves Rabbit. The Melon Goddess. Osmandia's 42. Vex Fidel. Green Clonk. Bunshines. Leopoldius. And Wibless. That is the first stack completed right away. Thank you guys so much. That's a good fucking starting stack. Let me just put the U-bots back on top. There we almost go. There we go. Down. Alright, okay. Dabs in a way. Depths in a way that makes my entire spine pop. Love it when the spine pops. Very satisfying. There was also a head for Derek. I don't know if the special head was requested. Please let me know if you did request a specific head. Deaga. Thank you very much for starting the second X stack. Very good. I meant to say Dab. Okay. I wasn't sure. This is me when I hang in the castle. I should really start doing this, honestly. I should stop covering up the egg, the name of the song with the eggs. It's funny, but it's not practical. Why have the names if you can't read them? And Melzanoff, thank you very much for your egg as well. I asked ahead that most appropriate for being in a hotel. Well, Clone in chat actually made us a specific Gregory Horror Show hat, which we could wear, but the one that's most fitting for being in a hotel out of these...
Car battery!
Oh! Ow! I'm gonna say this one. Oh, the Greg head sounds good. Okay, alright. It's not a Greg head, it is a Gregory Horror Show head, but you'll see. Here it is. It's death! Ain't that good? Thank you very much, Green Clonk, aka Clone in chat, for making that. And also Kiva Fox.
Hey,
And Mildly Cloudy. Thank you both for your eggs. Very nice. Do you have a Mario hat? Mario is known for his hotels. I actually don't have a Mario hat. I don't even have a Sonic hat. I just have a Knuckles hat and then another Knuckles hat. I just have two Knuckles hats. But no Mario hats. Even though he is so well known for being in hotels. Oh, and I get cheesed. What? There we go. Oh lord. There we go. Good. And I get a sippy. What kind of cheese is that? Dutch. It's Dutch cheese. It's jong belegen, which is what we call it. And I don't know if it has a translation. Okay. Stretched. Whew. There we go. That's all the thingies done. They call her the Dutch cheese. They always say that gooey must be, but I'm not sure what they mean by that. Me neither. But I'm sure it's true. Was I gonna say anything else? I feel like I was gonna say something. Well, shit. Did it have to do with cheese? Right, I remember. When I stretchy, I make noises, right? Chameleon Yan, thank you very much for following. Welcome. So when I do stretchies, I do noises, right? I make fun noises, and I need you to know that those are natural. Those just happen, right? It's to a point where if I'm like around, you know, not, I don't know, when I'm in a less casual situation, you know, when I'm not just like with friends or something, I have to like make an effort to not make those noises, because this, you know, it's like, hello, I'm here to help you do your taxes or whatever the fuck, just, you know, example, and then I have to like stretch. Imagine if I start making those noises then. No, so I have to like hold them back then, because they are just natural. I don't choose to do them, they just happen. Which is very funny to me. Okay. Let's go video games. This one. Remind me later about this update that my very real PS2 has. Full screen. Noises are the best sign of a good stretch. This is true. Noises to make me gender envious. Just start making noises, I guess. Who knows? Maybe at some point you'll start doing them as well, out of innate habit or something, nature, instinct. I don't know why I make the noises. When she stretches, she do noises. It too. I am involuntarily cute. Yeah, that's what it is. If you stretch while getting taxes done, I feel like your accountant would instantly recognize you as Gunla Queen. Yeah, we can't have that. My real identity has to remain a secret for the safety of my loved ones. Trees. So, if you haven't seen this game before, if you weren't here for the last stream, for example, it is a game made by Capcom. Trees. It is a game made by Capcom, based on a Japanese 3D animated series of anime shorts, in which you are stuck in a hotel.
Hey, come on!
You were stuck in a hotel that is filled with weirdos and freaks and such, and some of them want to kill you and stuff. I died! No! I guess you'll never get the full explanation now. Oh, fish! That's fine by me, because that one is easy to switch to. Hello. Plus, you know, I'm like a shark girl, which is that's still like a horror thing, I guess. Sure. You know, it's like should make it a little bit quieter, maybe. I should like it's like a creature from the lagoon or something, you know? You know? Shark girls are really scary and totally not cute. We can be both, actually. We can be both. I got teeth. You can't really see them that well, though. If I make it 2.0, you'll be able to see them better. Anyway. Don't cry. I am just a fish. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Mermaid Queen? That's not my name. My name's Coral Queen. I'm not a mermaid. I'm a shark girl. I've got legs, you know? And if I was more square-shaped, I would fit into the hotel. I think so. Shark girls are so smooth. You know I'm smooth. Anyway. So, Gregory Horror Show. It's a game in which you are stuck in a hotel with a bunch of weirdos and stuff, and it's kind of implied that this is purgatory. And you will get another chance at life if you manage to take all of their souls that they have stolen from others. Who are they? Who are the others? Who knows? But they've stolen their souls, and now they're holding on to them. And if you can get them back from all of the tenants of the hotel, guests, I guess, then death will give you another chance at life. So that's the game. It's about sneaking and observing and kind of puzzling your way to stealing each of the souls. And that's fun and cool. Also, the characters are cubes. You know? Yeah, I have legs like a shark. So, what were we doing last? Our character was angry and we don't know how to get rid of it. Yes, okay. We have to get Cactus Gunman's soul right now. And there was one on the second floor. There was a Lostel who we've already gotten. Don't forget to reapply the cheese. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the reminder. There we go. There was someone else. Oh, right. It's oh shit. It's Mummy Dog and Mummy Papa. I remember. Wait, so what was scary? Was it... My character like freaked out a little bit. I think it was because of Lostel, but haven't we pacified Lostel now? Yeah, see, Lostel's fine because she's got her doll. So we should go down and observe Cactus Gunman and the mummies. There's Judgment Boy over there. Oh shit. Can't go in there, I don't think. I believe Cactus Gunman will, like, always just try to challenge me to a duel, which I will lose. But I think he went back inside. Seems like it. Right, so... Aw. Are you like born with like sharp tools in your head? Is that just like part of your genes? Yeah, they were just born with blades in their heads. Okay. Ah, and the jacuzzi. So, that means that eventually they will be in the jacuzzi, and when they are, I should go over there because they'll fall over. I also think that they don't... Chit.
What are you doing?
No! Fuck off, James! No! Jeans are too long. He keeps tripping on the jeans. Yeah. Neko Zombie, what are you doing? Azul Maja, you do not need to run away. You do not need to give me any tips or anything. Shit. I think she went the other way, so it's okay. But let me just read the shit back a bit. My only knowledge of this game is that my older sister was looking for Gregory and the hot air balloon, a kid's game she liked when she was younger. And my wonderful parents came back from a car boot sale. We're like, we found a Gregory game and it was this. We never played it. Aw, but it's fun. Also, I already played the game before, so it's just that I don't remember everything exactly, you know? So you super don't have to give me any hints. Despite the name, this game isn't scary visually. The scary part mostly comes from the psychological horror. It's that. It's also the tension, mostly. I would say the tension is the biggest scare in here. Do I have any unread? Oh, whoops. I would smooch Neko Zombie. I love Neko Zombie. He's so good. The horror comes from the Gregory. Correct. I wish I remembered what these colors were. I should get the manual, but I don't have it anymore. Well, I mean, I do. It's in the game case, which is in the drawer, and I don't feel like getting it right now. Kinda wish we held on to it. The game looks neat. It is. It is a neat game. I specifically wanted it because I was like a fan of Gregory Horror Shell, and I found out there was a game, and I was like, "There's a game?" And then I had to buy it from eBay. I feel like this would be traumatizing to play as a kid. No, of course not. It's just the right kind of horror, probably, for a kid, maybe. I love Mommy Papa's icon. He's so bored. Alright, okay, anyway. Books. Read. Okay, I think we've got all the reading. Let's try to go to sleep and see if I'm still angry in the morning. When the Gregory Horror shows. Well, that's what we call this game. Yeah, at least Neko Zombie was good. Did we? Oh, we did. We hadn't.
So, you only brought me one, huh?
We hadn't delivered Lostle's soul yet. But no, I don't want to hand it over yet. Yes. Hold on to them for now because it's like a power-up when you have them. However, I think certain residents will be more horrible nightmare and still angry. Fuck. But I think certain residents will be more keen to attacking you. They're in the fucking sauna right now, or the jacuzzi, or the jacuzzi. I think. Go. Damn it. Well, let's find out if they attack me. Don't think so. Their pathing is a little odd. How many souls can you have at one time? I think 3, because every night there are only 3 souls to collect. Hello, Judgment Boy.
Judgment!
You're a student with a secret crush. Now you're all alone at a bus stop with that special someone.
So, what will you do?
This is your chance to score, so what will you do? I don't know, I guess I would go for it. I feel like Catherine is not safe to be around kids or people in general. No, definitely not. I feel like a lot of the people in here, like Cactus Gunman just tries to challenge everybody he meets to a gunfight, you know?
Alrighty then, let's ask the scales of truth. Which will it be, money or love? Only the scales know for sure. Judgment! Here we go!
Oh no, I don't go for it. He dropped a heart, it's shattered into pieces. You lost your nerve and ran away. Later, you convinced yourself that you never had a chance in the first place.
And that's the truth, see ya?
I fucking love Judgment Boy, he's so good. His design is so fucking funny too. Who's that? I heard someone. I think that was just the fam still. And that's the truth, see ya. That's because you have a fucking sword sticking in your head. I'm pretty sure that, like, if someone tries to tell them that they have swords and stuff, that they have things in their head, that just like don't register it at all.
Yippee!
Yippee!
Oh my.
Egg.
Egg! I'll get that egg in a moment. Yippee! That seems nice. Sure, but considering the fact that you don't even know that there's a sword in your head, I don't know if I should trust your medicine. Oh wait! How did I get here? Thanks so much for your egg. Much appreciated. Big preach, you know?
Egg.
Yeah, so you're saying I have a blade in my head? That's ridiculous. I would have noticed something like that. That's exactly the kind of what it is, yeah. And a ribbon skull, thank you very much for your egg as well. Okay, let's see, where's Cactus Gunman? Oh, okay, he's in there. In here. Know my name.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Catherine, can you fucking stop being here? Can you vanish? Oh, is that the reason? Maybe that's the reason why Cactus Gunman wants to fight you. I think so. Yeah, okay, so I think Catherine sets him up against you. That's very clever, actually. That they have like that explanation for it. I like that. Catherine doesn't drain his blood because he's just a cactus and doesn't have blood, which is a headcanon. I think it's also specifically that she wants human blood. I'm not sure though. She's the only person to recognize you as a real machine. Man, can't believe that like the worst person you know just made a good point. She actually recognizes that I'm a robot. Have you been to the first floor of this hotel yet? On the east side is one of our older rooms. It's a bit worn, but that just adds to its character. On the west side is a luxury suite, but I can't imagine that you'd have any business there. And then there's our bar catering and more bar catering for more adult pleasures. The perfect spot for some intimate moments. I wholeheartedly recommend paying it a visit sometime. Sure. I should get a map of the second floor anyway. Which has to be somewhere. Oh, right, okay. I know that the bar is that way, as well as an escape chute. Oh, okay, she is no longer having fun with her doll, so she would in fact get angry at me, especially since I'm carrying her soul with me. Oh shit, Cactus Girl.
Brother!
I forgot Cactus Girl was already here. I thought she came later. Hold on a second, let's go save and then go talk to Cactus Girl.
Save this game?
How is that their room? It's like a purgatory death realm, don't worry about it. It is kind of one of the weirdest things though, I will say. Why is our room so fuck-ass then? Oh shit. Okay, we're good. It's because we're just an ordinary little human, we're not like a cactus person, you know? And Yard 1000, thank you so much for your egg. And Ribbon Skull, thank you for the sippy. Their rooms are more their personal purgatory pocket dimension. Maybe since you see this place as just a haunted hotel, you just have a normal hotel room. I feel like it's more that we are just like, just a human still, you know? Like some of the people here are like personifications of fear, some of them were once human, but they have since become something else. And I feel like because we haven't become something else, we can't have something like that yet. Like, Judgment Boy's room is just like this huge, empty, dark room, you know? Like, he also has a special room, but he's also clearly something more, you know? So, I feel like it's because of that, you know? Because people like Judgment Boy and the Cactus siblings are so different, they get different rooms. You know? Fear of big sword in my head. You're not meant to be there, simple as. Pretty much, yeah. Like Death himself was like, you don't, like, this doesn't seem like the place for you. Here, I'll help you out. If you do something for me, then I'll help you get out of there, you know? So it makes sense. I got Brothers Lasso number 1. I'm gonna steal your weed. Oh, yellow, nice. Now I'm gonna talk to you. Wait, hold on. And I'm gonna steal your other book. Hello. Hey, you're Zoe. My name's Cactus Girl. I'm Cactus Gunman's little sister.
I'll get you!
You're the one who's been persecuting my brother. I won't let you get away with it. Wait a minute. This is my home turf, the Badlands of the Old West. Big Bro always says, if you can't fight fair, don't fight at all.
Out of respect for
Okay.
my brother, I'll leave you alone for now.
Okay, we'll call it a truce, but only when we're in here. You're just lucky my brother's so nice. So yeah, she thinks that I'm, like, a law enforcer. Which is clearly untrue, of course. Cactus Girl is a little gender. When I played this game for the first time, I really, really liked Cactus Girl.
Save?
And yeah, Cactus Gunman might want to fight you at every opportunity, but at least he's honorable about it. Which I like. And I just like that all the characters have their fun little quirks, you know? It's not that they'll always attack you no matter what, no matter where and stuff. They have their routines, Oh shit. Speak of the devil. I wonder what happens if I go in, actually. Wait. Oh shit, no. No, wrong door, and wrong button. I should just go. I'm just gonna go. Is he even there? Oh, right. I don't have a map. Well, my sanity is getting low anyway, so I think we'll go home to our room. You should be able to make friends with Cactus Girl by saying ACAB. Agreed. Because that's the thing, it's like the Cactus siblings, like specifically, really don't seem bad at all. You know? They're just wrong about something. Book? What book? Adventures of a Big Fat Liar. Okay, I feel like that's not a real book. I feel like you're joking right now. Oh, okay, that's all you're gonna say? I'll get that egg in a moment.
Hey, come on!
But it's like... Cactus Girl, for some reason, thinks that you're a law enforcer who wants to imprison her brother. And... what? And Cactus Gunman was tricked into thinking that I'm like a worthy opponent. So if you could just get through those misconceptions, I feel like they would just be on your side if anything. Like they seem nice, you know? Yeah, poor Neko. Okay, hold on. So I don't remember what the yellow stuff is. What's green? I don't know. Oh wait, maybe that determines who they're with. You know what? Okay, hold on. I'm gonna go get the manuals. I'm gonna be right back. I'm just gonna be right back. Hi. Okay, hello, I'm back. I have the original case with the original manual. So let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Oh no! It is in French. I do not remember it being in French. Oh, never mind. There's also a Dutch manual. Okay, we're good. It's fine, it's fine. This game is £50 in the UK. I don't remember how much money I originally got it from like eBay. But money was no object because I really wanted it. Okay, let's see. Blah blah blah, mental meter. Okay, let's see. Oh right, okay, so they're talking about the different ailments you can have, the conditions. So what do I have? Nervousness. Looks more like anger. Okay, so I need okay, it means that healing items don't work as well, and also it goes away if I take something against tummy ache, which is interesting, or like acids, calm the acids or whatever. So that's something to keep in mind. Blah blah blah. Wait, what? Okay, page 43? Huh? You gotta go? Alright, well, take care of yourself, Melangatas. Thanks for coming. You have herbs? What is this, Resident Evil? Yes. Yes, it is. It's made by Capcom. Okay, this is annoying. It's like you can read what the notebook has to say on page 43, and then 43 doesn't. It does not talk about that. So it doesn't explain what those colors are. That is fortunate. Well, I guess we'll just have to figure it out for ourselves. Which, who knows, maybe that's what the developers intended originally. And if that's the case, then I would assume that green means that they are together with another character. Because this is when she's treating gunmen. This is when they're chilling when they're trying to kill you. I would think not. Maybe it's when they're roaming. Because these are all... The yellow ones here are when they're out in the hall. This is when she's sitting in front of her door, I think. Want someone to look it up? No, not yet. If we can figure it out for ourselves, then that's fine. Let's see. These are both when they're in their room. It's treated. Work at front desk. But this isn't. He's stationary and he's outside in the hallway, but he's by himself. Green. Everything for Neko Zombie is red, which I guess makes sense if that means being inside their room, because Neko Zombie's always inside his room. Together. Working out. This workout is designed to help women relieve their stress. Okay, this is in our room, just in our own room, not in the infirmary. Nurse's office, whatever you want to call it. In a room. Okay, it really seems like yellow is roaming the halls and red is in their room. And green is together. Ow. Oh, hi Ro! Enjoy your lurk, bye bye. And Chameleon, thanks very much for coming and enjoy the rest of your day. Green is safe to interact with. Red can't interact, and yellow questionable, maybe. Let's see. Hold on. No, I don't think so, because it's always safe to interact with Judgment Boy. And these are yellow. And I honestly can't imagine any situation in which it'd be okay to be around Catherine. Maybe green is when they're in a room, but not their own, because Cactus was not in his room. Maybe. And I guess the front desk could count as a room, because Gregory is, like, confined to that one room. He's not making the rounds or anything. So that's possible. Okay, neither of these is James's room, but he is in a room. I think that's probably what it is. I feel like that checks out. They are stationary in a room, but not their own room. So yellow is roaming, red is their own room, green is a different room. I think that makes sense. Good. Let's do a bit of reading. Wow. Ooh, all filled up. Nice. Cool, thanks. Oh, I should have probably looked at the keyhole first. Well, that's okay. Seems like it's no problem. Let's go save real quick. And then I'd like to get something against the tummy ache. I know I'm currently at risk of death every moment I'm here, but I have to catch up on my required reading. Listen, if you're gonna be stuck inside a place like this, you might as well make it a little bit more enjoyable for yourself, you know? By having some nice reading. Yeah, a little bit of escapism as a treat. Exactly. Escapism by reading about the people whose stolen souls you're trying to steal back.
Welcome to
Medicine. Okay, so okay, so this says butterflies in your stomach, and it's called antacid. Sure. So I think this is what we need. But the use of the word butterflies is just a bit odd to me, isn't it? Isn't that like, when you've got butterflies in your stomach, it's because you're in love, right?
Please.
Consume. And we're good. Oh, I'm feeling so healthy. Don't use acid on hands. No, I used antacid. Ah, shit, Catherine is in. I wanted to cut through the kitchen to get to the garden, but I guess I can't. Big unfortunate. I think it's mainly used for nerves, so it was just like nerves in general. Alright, maybe I'm wrong. Whenever you're nervous, like stage fright and social anxiety. Oh shit, there's someone in here. Fuck. Oh fuck, it's coming.
It was you! You're the assassin that tried to steal my soul!
I haven't actually done that at all yet.
Sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not giving up that easy.
I haven't done shit yet. Oh god, oh god, oh. Oh. Okay then. Bye. You can stop. Shit, I just did it again. Okay, I'm gonna go. Wait, is there any items here? Don't think so. I also fully believe that Gregory has a cure for being in love. Yeah, it seems like the sort of thing he'd just have. He was scared because you're a terrifying shark girl. Ah, I'm so scary. Oh, you're a shark. I didn't count for this. One moment. Help, I'm scared. I'm gonna go. Ow. He's off to get some fresh water, which he believes will defeat me. For you see, I'm a saltwater creature.
Egg.
I was just wondering if I had any more eggs that I needed to do, and I do. Not 1 iota. Sorry for the wait. And dark nitroline. Well, thank you both for your eggs. Oh! Wait. He's going full Captain Ahab in a moment. Don't say that. It makes me scared. Captain Ahab was a very scary guy. He was very driven for no good reason. Oh, I should put the books away. Right, okay. Anything here? Don't think so. Sometimes I wonder how you find time to play the video game between all the redeems in the stream. Me too, paranoid. I am also very surprised how I managed to get any... What the fuck? Oh my god, okay. Fuck, dude. It's just Judgment Boy. Nothing to worry about. But no, it really is like a skill that you have to... like develop. As a streamer. Being able to do all kinds of things. Play the game, talk to chat, emote, you know, ow, also, and do the redeems. It's a lot of work. Oops. What's up to Neko Zombie?
I'm hungry.
I'm sorry, I don't have any chocolate for you. You'd follow the mummies around? Just to see if they drop something. And then eat that. Captain Ahab was a great man who managed to stop a killer whale while keeping his crew alive. I didn't finish the book. I don't know if that's what happened, I'm gonna be honest. Oops. Swimming is very hard. You're very good at it, though. Thanks. Thank you. I try. I'm always trying. I hope I do a good job at it. Let's put the red herb in here. This one, and take a green one with us. Should be good. I don't even really need that. Oops. Oops. Wait. There we go. There. Gregory's coming. Behold! He is going in the other direction, never mind. Neko Zombie would eat the hell out of the blood soup. It's good soup. What is MG? Mental gauge. It's like your health bar, basically. While you're here, it always goes down, and if like extra scary things happen to you, like one of the residents catches you or something, it goes down way more. Stuff like that. It's like a little management game, trying to keep it up. So let's go see what Cactus Gunman is up to now. It shows how close you are to a mental breakdown. Yeah. Well, you know, more specifically, it shows how close you are to losing your fucking mind. And being stuck here forever. Ooh, there's books in here. Can I go in? I can. Book. Got a map of the first floor of Gregory House. Better take good care of it. Nice. And warp time number 3. Is there anything in here? No. Okay. Anyone else feel this just looks like a Luigi's Mansion room? I know that both games kind of have some stuff in common, of course, but this room, especially just feels like you would find it in Luigi's Mansion. Weed. Can't go in. This will be the lounge. Yes, it is. Alright, we have a map now, so... Okay, so they're both in that room now, both of the Cactus siblings. So I want to go see if I go in there now, if Cactus Gunman will attack me again. Or if, like his sister, he will only fight me on equal footing. Okay, let's save first. Me reading the parts of Moby Dick that just teach to read about whaling. Wow, this book is so informative. I can't wait to move to Nantucket Island and make a fortune in the whaling business. And then you do, and then the exact same thing happens to you as happened to Captain Ahab, because those who do not learned from the past are doomed to repeat it. Even if the past is a work of fiction. They forgot the textures for the gold room. Luigi sees that and just sucks up the whole room in his vacuum. Good job, Luigi. See, a gold-plated bed sounds cool until you need to sleep and realize that the floor is more comfortable than a sheet of gold. That's what I'm thinking. Like, that's not a good bed, right? That would surely be really bad to sleep on, I imagine. Oh, shit. Oh, wait. I think that was Laszlo going to... Yes, okay, good. No problem then. Wait, isn't this... Why does this room also have gunshots in it? Oh, they have separate rooms. I guess that makes sense. But also not. It's a bit surprising. Wait, you don't have a... Okay. Oh. Ah. And we know that he hurts himself during practice, which means that he must hurt himself enough during practice, and then we could steal his gun from him. But why isn't your room like the way that your sister's is? I kind of want to go in. I'm gonna go in. Not good. No? Coward. Oh shit, who's that? Is it Greg? Oh, it's just good old Greg. Hey bud, what's up? There's a clever little girl living on the first floor of the hotel. Shall we introduce the other guests staying at this hotel? What do you mean? She's trans, she gets a cool room. Honestly, yeah, she's trans, you're right. He's paranoid about someone taking his gun and then you barge in. Well, see, I wanted to forge, you know, a feeling of goodwill, you know? I won't sneak up on you, you know? I won't be sneaky. I'll just barge on in and be like, hey neighbor, how are you doing? You know? Trying to befriend them, if anything. I'd be like, your sister's trans, I'm trans, you know. There's a lot to relate to or whatever, you know? You're still a shark and he has a clear fear of sharks. Yeah, but he's, you know, exposure therapy, you know? What happens if I say yes?
Who would you like to hear about?
Oh, he just tells you. Okay, alright. Tell me about James. James is my grandson, he. I don't know whose side he takes after, but that boy loves to cause all sorts of trouble. He can be quite a handful sometimes. But he's taken a real shine to you. If you happen to see him, do stop and chat with him for a while. What? It's okay, Jody. Fitting alt, you got it. He lives in the desert, he's never seen a shark before, so he sees Coral Queen and is like, what is that thing? Why does it have so many sharp teeth? Well, he won't have to be scared anymore because I'm back to being a ghost, which is a normal thing to see here, I assume. I made my Gregory exit. Where am I? Where did I go? Cheese on my face. Hello. Here I am. Tell us about Judgment Boy. Whenever you're troubled about something, he comes along and gives you a choice between two extremes. But beware, if you try to lie, those scales of truth of his will see right through it. Still, I hear he just waves his arms around for show. Let's hear about Cactus Gunman, actually, since we do need his, the soul he's carrying. He used to be the leader of a revolutionary army based. He's the kind who'll pick a fight with anyone who even looks at him. He talks big, but inside he's just a spineless coward. Just a worthless cactus who runs away if I so much as knock on his door. Spooky Tilsdale for your crown. Oh, okay, in a moment. Even if it's just to bring him his dinner. Oh yeah, hey, you can hear about Frog Fortune Teller, that's interesting. I'll do that, Tilsdale, in a moment. She's an expert fortune teller who runs our hotel's world-class fortune-telling shop. She'll tell the fortune of anyone who passes by. Always bad and always 100% on the spot. The mad old killjoy. You can save the game at her place. I recommend trying it sometime. You don't gotta do him like that, Gregory. It's seriously kind of rude. Where is it, you say? Well, she has 2 shops on the ground and the first floor. Okay. Bye. Too bad she won't tell us our fortune. That'd be fun. Now give me just a moment as I get the Tilsdale out. There we go. Thank you. Alright, so let's see where, okay, the mummies are in their room. Everyone's just kind of in their room. Guess we just have to wait for a little bit, but let's go ahead and spy on Losdale for a bit. You scared me to death. Oh, dang it. I forgot. Sorry.
If I may ask, what are you doing?
Being a nosy little bitch, what does it look like? I did not ask about Cactus Girl. We will actually, because she's trans.
Hello?
Really sorry, but if you're planning to make me slip on a banana peel, I suggest you think again. James is always doing the same thing, so I'm afraid it won't work on me.
Who would you...
Cactus Girl? She's Cactus Gunman's little sister. She really seems to be attached to him. She's your typical adolescent girl, insecure about her own sense of fashion. She uses her lasso to ensnare unsuspecting passers-by and steal their possessions. Where is she? Well, I often see her on the first floor of the hotel. Okay. Uh-oh. You turned around? God damn it. Fine, I'll go to fuck to bed because I think I'm tired. I'm tired. Ooh, unsure about fashion because she's new to it. Yeah. What's that? Oh well. Just a girl was building her empire, one theft at a time. You gotta respect it. Okay. Think we're good. Let's eat.
Come on now. Give it up.
No, I still need the
Throw away
soul.
all them worries.
I need the soul still. You're not getting it.
Oh, it's... So, shall I take...
No. No, no, no. Oh, fuck. Well, whatever. It's fine.
Hey, thanks a lot. Hey, you don't look so good. Here, this'll fix you right up.
Yeah, I was tired. All I had to do was sleep. I was doing that anyway. Yay! Somehow we feel full of hope and aren't tired anymore, which tends to happen if you sleep. Let's see. Oh, the mummies are separated. That's new. Wait, was I carrying any books? Oh, I totally was. 1. So acts like a full heal? No, just sleeping. Having a good night's sleep just gives you a full heal. The souls act like a buff, where your sanity just degrades slower if you have one of them, or 2, or 3. I think if you have 3, then like your sanity just like does not degrade or something. Oh shit! Go 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 go! How lucky! Damn! Holy shit! Are you good? Doesn't that take the biscuit? Okay, he's not good. He'll be fine. We got a soul. Oh shit, who's that? That's Greg. Hi. Sup, Gregory. You just woke up from a nap, or like, oh, soul, wait a second. Yeah, I lost my soul during the night, oops. But then I instantly find a new one, so it's all good. Isn't that supposed to have risk? Carrying souls around with you? It does, it makes whoever you stole it from more aggressive towards you, and maybe also some other folks, like maybe if Catherine were to see me, she would give more chase, you know? It's him, Father Gregory from Half-Life 2! Doing a lurky, but have a good thing. Oh, the stream. Alright, thanks, Ray! Enjoy your lurk! Thanks so much for coming. Let's see. They're still in their room. Okay, how are we going to get Gunman? I think we're just gonna have to catch him. And thank you very much for giving Ray a shout out. Very well deserved. Ray is very fun and nice and a really good artist. But I think what we have to do, like I said earlier, is we have to catch Gunman before he goes to Catherine's. So it'll be here. Because that's when he'll be practicing and probably like knocking himself out. So I guess we have to wait a little bit. When was it? 6 a.m.? 6 a.m. I guess we'll go check the garden for some more herbs. Because we need more of those so we can trade them. In case we get sick again or anything like that. Oh, second one, okay. Very good on the yawn counter there. Anyone in here right now? Nope. That means we can go get an apple or whatever it was that you can find in here, I forgot. Mummy Stew? Why is it called that? It's not made out of the mummy dogs, is it? Oh, here's something else. Scissor salad, but I'm carrying so much that I can't. It's made of mummies, but...
What
Hi.
are you doing?
Hello, you little shit, what's up? Wow, you're doing pretty good there. Oh, thanks. You know, people used to eat mummies. Oh, right! I forgot that that's a real thing. Let's see what the description has to say about it. The white bandages make your mouth water. Why? Eat at your own risk. Gross! Why? Weird. see. What a good can. I love it. What is this? Hold on, is it an item we can get? Hold on.
Well,
I mean, wouldn't be in books, obviously. Here it is, empty can. It's an empty can. Okay. That has to have a use at some point, right? I assume. I wonder what it'll be. I don't remember. So we can get the doll again in case we want to pacify Law's doll again for a while. The batteries are sold out. I remember needing those at some point, like requiring them, I think. Bananas. Just for next time, jump forward. Be very careful with it. I think you can, like, that's what we can use, like, if we want to jump to a specific time and we don't want to just wait around for it. We can use this. We can get trading cards, which I don't know what those are going to be for eventually, but you can have them. And I'm assuming that the green herb tea are like better versions of the regular herbs of the similar color, you know? Buy my angry can. If you throw it at people, they get angry. It's incredible. Angel Floaters is sold out. Why are some of them in the store but sold out already? Are they just gonna stop being sold out at some point? Anger soda, make me angry. Me and my doll, okay, we have some of those. I wonder if completing a set of books and reading all of them gives you like a bonus. I could see that being the case. Let's go ahead and get this. And then we can go read it. And there's a gachapon there, but we can't even use it. Which, what's it sound? Ow! What are you doing? Oh, you're just fucking around. Okay. Books in the library are far too hard for me to understand, but I get the feeling there's gotta be some juicy secrets hidden in there. I don't recall seeing anything. Also, we have an erotic magazine still. I wonder where we'll get to use that. Hi. I don't remember. Also, it's dark now. Which you can tell by our eyes. Wait, hold on. Put the yellow herb away. I wonder what the... I didn't actually think about what the food would do. It says eat at your own risk, so it's gotta do something special, right? It's not just gonna be better, like, restore your sanity, I assume. I wonder if they got bonehead juice? Only under the table, I think. These fucking whispers, dude. Don't trust them. Actually, no, don't get some sleep just yet. Okay. Let's see, what time is it now? Okay, so we're gonna stay awake a little longer because I want to catch Gunman practicing. Okay, this dude runs when his food is brought. I guess that could have been a tip. Oh fuck. Oh shit. Never mind, I'm gonna go. What? Oh no. Okay. Okay. We're good. We're okay. Oh, hello. Oh, I think I made him mad. Yep, I made him mad. He's angry that I stole his soul. Yeah, you don't look so good yourself while chasing you down is terrifying. It's a little scary. A little bit. Whew. So let's see what that is on his schedule. Jogging. He's really into his jogging, but there are some things that just aren't meant to be. It's just helpful. Let him. I don't want to let him kill me. That would be a bad and not good thing to do. To have happen to me.
What are you doing?
Hi, James. I'm gonna go save this game.
Save this game?
Save this game. Ribbit. I forgot she says ribbit as well. I tend to only wait for the save this game. Dying is bad for your health. I would advise against it. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. If it was just getting some help, it'd be fine, but it's murder and death and such. Okay, hold on. Cactus Gunman is in the TV room now. But I'll have to go around because Mummy Papa is over there. And I don't know what Cactus Gunman is doing right now. I assume he's just watching like westerns on TV, but maybe he's practicing right now. So let's go find out. I won't be able to see anything. Oh, never mind. I totally can. Good thing I checked. Oh, why did you turn around? I thought you were walking the other way. Oh, it's because you heard the door, isn't it? Okay. Oh, fuck, Cactus Gunman is moving. Okay, alright. Mommy Papa's back to his room. Cactus Gunman is back in the...
Stop that.
Fuck off. God damn it, Gregory. Get used to this. I'm just gonna keep doing it.
If I may.
Whatever. Judgment! Okay, they're both in their rooms. Yes, he is just watching westerns on the TV. Ah, the sound of a knock, you say? Well, that's something we can do.
Who's that? Don't scare me like that.
It's more than just one knock. Okay. I can do more than one.
Who's that?
Oh, he doesn't have a soul with him. Oh no, wait, there it is.
Don't scare me like
You can't
that.
scare me with just 2 little knocks. This is really dumb.
Egg.
Ooh. Let me just get those before I knock 3 times. Zephyr Tim, thank you very much for your egg. Okay, now he's really, really scared, isn't he? No, I need to know what he says. What? Oh.
Somebody's out to get me. Who are you?
What a bitch. Cactus girl, you deserve a better older sibling. I'll be your older sibling. I'll be your big sister. Yay! All right, so that's all the souls for this night. So now we can go turn them in and progress to the 3rd. Oh shit! Who's that?
What are you doing?
Oh, he just ran in a big circle. That's so good. He just ran past me. And at Dragon Catman, thanks so much for liking. Enjoy. Cactus Girl definitely idolizes his brother, her brother, not realizing he's a fraud. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he used to be like the leader of a revolutionary army, right? So he probably just sort of fell into that position as well, but she idolizes him because of that. And also, we've got Judgment Boy now. Yay! Can we get the funny? That's pretty funny too. But yeah! Spin! Either he has severe PTSD or he felt upwards to become a leader. One of those, yeah. Well, he did talk about like needing to forget. So I think PTSD is honestly probably the case. Anyway. Judgment! He probably does have PTSD if you think about it that way. Now we're gonna go sleepy.
Come on now. Give it up. Throw away all
No
that
damn worries. Hey, it's you.
Oh, it's you. Did you manage to pick up any souls?
I did. 2 more.
So you brought 2 of them along. Is that right?
Yes, can you not count?
Shall I take it?
Yeah, okay, you can take it. The 2 souls, you can take it.
Hey, thanks a lot. Here, I'll stamp your card for you. Hey, you don't look so good. Here, this'll fix you right up. Well, would you look at that? While we've been here jabbering, a whole bunch of new guests moved in, and they got souls too. Good luck there, buddy!
I also love Swedish, Italian, New Yorker Grim Reaper. He's so good. He has trouble with English sometimes. He's Swedish. Oh, of course. He's Swedish and Italian and New Yorker, so he has trouble with English sometimes. It makes sense. Now, the 3rd night, the hidden truth. Save this game. Rip it.
I am seeing flames, flames of deepest crimson. You shall soon be consumed by the flames of ruin.
What are you babbling about? What a complete load of baloney.
What a load of bullshit.
You cannot escape your fate.
Cool, I hope he burns. I hope our friend Gregory burns to death.
Judgment!
Hi.
Here we have a hotel manager trapped in a prophecy of doom. What will you do? What will you do?
For the love of... I'm surrounded by idiots.
Gregory, your mother was looking for you.
What? I don't remember being summoned.
So, are you hiding something? Or is your conscience clear? What is it, Gregory?
My conscience is clear. I'm not hiding anything from Mama.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Because of you, your mama's precious souls were stolen. You're in deep trouble. That's the truth, buddy boy. See ya.
Gregory!
Mama, he's lying. It's all a bunch of lies.
Silence! I knew there were too few souls. Care to explain?
Mama,
Yeah, just use like as interns.
I'll see you later in my room.
Oh no!
Oh no! The plot it thickens. Oh.
What a day.
Also things I say after being psychologically tortured by my mother.
I really didn't want to unlock this door, but...
Also, yeah, he like just told us that the fortune teller is always 100% accurate, and it's like, man, this is bullshit. You sure? You sure, Greg? Yay! It's TV Fish! I love TV Fish. It's also that boy, who I don't love, but he's pretty funny.
Spin it! Spin the wheel!
The secret is in the sauce.
And Hell's Chef
Smoking is cuisines.
is very good. Yeah, TV Fish is one of the scariest to me. Absolutely. Don't cry. I am a I am TV Fish. Na 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 na. Yeah, it's basically Gordon Ramsay. I can see the light again. From what I remember, TV Fish will show you memories, but ones you're already starting to forget. Exactly. TV Fish swims around through walls and such, and if people look at TV Fish's screen, they will see their own memories. But the longer that they are here, the more their memories will begin to fade away. So the TV will begin to show like staticky, artifacting and stuff, you know. And eventually, static is all you'll be able to see because you have no more memories of your former life, which is fucked up and awesome. TV Fish's broadcast queen and coral queen doing a fusion dance. That's cute, dude. Fusions of the different queens would actually be really fun to see. Although I guess with Spectral, Gauntlet, and Coral, it wouldn't be that interesting because me and Coral are just versions of Gauntlet Queen, pretty verbatim. But you could do something with it, I guess. Maybe. That's just so terrifying because then you're made aware of what you're forgetting. Kinda make me think of the trailer for the Digital Circus. Yeah, it is like that. You are made aware that you used to have memories that you no longer have, which is fucked. You know, that's scary. Now, let's see. Okay, so you can see in the middle. Hello? Where am I? Huh. For some reason, the big view doesn't work. Anyway, in the middle, in the kitchen, you can see that there's an unmarked resident, someone we haven't met yet. Is that there? But that is all. So we're gonna have to go to the basement to meet the other two new residents. Scream! Not this time. Mm-mm. You didn't scare me this time, sorry.
Car battery!
Oh, fuck! Well, that one got me. I bet Grandpa's thinking up some more excuses right about now. Even though he wasn't the one who left the door to that room open. It was me! Yeah! What a little shit he is. I think I remember from season 1 the character, then some memories of his family on TV, Fish's screen, and it was very static-y. Yeah, so it was specifically the family, and it was, I think it was like the son saying things like, why don't you, where did you go? And why don't you, why did you leave? Why don't you remember me and stuff? It was very fucked. Oh, speaking of which, after the stream, we will be watching the second season of the TV show in the Discord, also together. After the previous stream, the first one, we watched the first season, and we're going to watch the second season today. So keep that in mind if you're interested in watching the source material. It was very fun last time, yeah. I had a lot of fun. I think I was too young to fully comprehend how messed up the show was. Well, that's what's great about it, is that it works as just kind of a scary looking, ooh, kids thing, but it has layers. We love layers, you know? Like the actual character themes and stuff can go a little bit deeper than you would expect for something like this. Especially since the protagonist of the first game... the protagonist of the first season, I should say. Hold on a second. One of these days, I'll boil that fish in this pot. I'll slice it with this cleaver.
I'll stuff it in this icebox. Almost lunchtime. I want to go down to the second basement floor, but I must work. Too bad.
Okay, so... don't have any information on him yet, aside from that he carries the soul with him. What a kitchen nightmare! Let's go to the basement then. But the protagonist of the first season, like, came here willingly because he was so sick of the monotony of his daily life. But then once he was here, you know, he didn't remember why he left anymore because his memories were fading. So then when he finally makes it out again, he comes back to the hotel because he realizes that he really is happier here, where he's in constant peril, but at least something is happening rather than the monotony of his daily real life, which is pretty messed up. And also, if any mods in chat could give Kiva Fox Discord access, that would be lovely. Thank you very much. I love layers, me using Photoshop. One surprising thing I learned today is that apparently the original flip phone Gregory Horror Show game is getting a Steam port. Like, there's a page. What? Hold on. Oops. Really? He would rather feel something rather than nothing, even if that something is fear. Yeah, it's very interesting to me. It's very cool. Gregory. Gregory Shell Steam. Is this it? This is it! It says coming soon. When was this added on the site? Guess you can't see that. Oh. Someone on a motorbike outside revving it. Anyway, I'll send it in chat. This is super interesting. It's all in Japanese, but maybe there'll be a a fan translation at some point. I hope this is real. I hope they actually release it, because that would be very cool. The L and R buttons and the plus and minus for options on the screen make me think that it would also be a switch port. Interesting! Very cool. Anyway. Down in the basement. Let's see, we don't have the map yet for the basement. I remember the basement being much harder to navigate and such than the rest of the hotel. And that adding to the tension. Okay, got a map, that's good. Eye drops. Someone might leave another one here later. Let's come back after a little while. Good. But as far as I remember, the darkness just means that you can see a little bit less. Probably less far. But that's not really much of an issue, I think. Now let's see. Oh. That's for that boy. I wonder, did Gregory get summoned up? Because of the souls? You're not gonna come in here, are you? You're gonna turn around? You're gonna turn around and go back? Right? Nope. No, you're not. Goodbye. I wonder, hold on, if I stand at the stairs and I... No, okay, I can't see anything. Okay, I think I already left. Like, do you see this? This is so... What kind of fucking basement is this? Like, I look at these two floors and it's like, yep, that's a hotel room. That's a hotel. Right? It's a nice circle and stuff. It's nice. And then you have this shit. Why are we like in a weird ass fucking Dungeons and Dragons dungeon now? You know? Sometimes basements are funky. Sure, but this is insane. They made FNAF maps. Ugh. Found the Japanese publishers tweet announcing the port of Gregory Horror Show Mobile and Midnight Horror School. Oh, Midnight Horror School too? Nice! Posted 15 hours ago. Seems like this news just dropped. That is so fun and exciting. I love that. That is really good. I hope they get fan translations. To be fair, I could see the basement as somewhere the guests aren't supposed to go. Even so, what are these winding halls and stuff? They just don't really make sense, do they? So we play Resident Evil basement music. I love the Resident Evil basement music. It's so bad. Can I do this? There's a heavy steel plate blocking the entrance. Okay, so cannot do that. Okay. I'm gonna look at what those three things are. I remember them being relevant. But then again, like, everything in this game is relevant at some point. Ow! Is relevant at some point, I suppose. Is this close at some point? Something. I'd better get it. Found an item. A dead remote. Ah, and we need batteries for that. Energy drink, but I'm carrying so much that I can't carry any more. So we'll consume a green earth. Why do you have a pig painting? It is slightly unnerving. Oh. That's just, Judgment Boy. I think these three might be the guest rooms in the basement? Although this is a very shitty guest room. But why are they numbered like that? What are you? Empty can! Angry can! So cool, so awesome. But not relevant right now, as far as I know. Mushroom. So much weed! Wait, oh my god! This is where they're growing all the fucking weed! Wait, hold on a second. Is Judgment Boy happy about something? Well, I guess we'll never know. Because he has left. So can I collect the mushrooms, or are those for display? No, they're real. Laughing shrooms. That's for if we're sad or something, right? Melancholy, yeah, that's the one. Gregory weed storage! James, did you steal my weed? That's why the basement looks like this, to throw off the cops while they grow their weed! Oh, it all makes sense now. Gregory, you're a genius. Truly. Okay, Red Boy is coming. And now I don't... Actually, I think the rooms in between these numbered rooms might be the guest rooms. In any case, I don't think Red Boy is gonna come in here, so we'll have to wait for Red Boy to pass by.
Car battery!
I was holding my breath because of the hiccup. Oh, that's all you're gonna say? Okay. Okay, wait a little bit longer. Good job. I'm pretty sure that boy attacks on sight as well. Which is why I'm avoiding him. Wow, kid. Your hiccup gone now? I think it is. So that's good at least. Okay, yeah, this is Roulette Boy's room. They also have that painting of a cat. Oh, nice. And they have blood. Of course they have blood. And this... Okay, I know what room this is, but the tenant isn't here yet. There is weed, however. Can I go in? No. Don't remember giant squid in this game. Yeah, it was added in the most recent update. Because they're definitely still updating this game. Wow, yeah, mambalea, mambalina. Caperinha, caperinha. Whoa, yeah, mambaleo, mambalina. Okay, let me just make sure to see if Hal's chef is in the kitchen. Yes, okay, he is. Did he link between worlds himself into that wall? I think he just had a giant painting of himself on the wall commissioned, just a giant wall mural. Hey, where'd he go? Oh, he's in the dining room. Okay. That means that we can go in the dining room. Or, no, we can go in the kitchen. Is this something I can acquire? No. Okay. Shit. Okay, I think we're good. When I didn't know you came up to the second floor, or the base floor, I didn't know that. I thought Red Boy always stayed on in the basement. I did not know. Can you not be friends with them? We can be friends with Neko Zombie.
I'm hungry.
But that's the only one, I think. Heard a rumor. The TV fish appears just before noon on the second basement floor.
That's all.
But that fish is all bones, hardly worth my time. Yes. Okay, it's just before noon. I think the only ones that you can be, like, friends with to some degree are Neko Zombie, James, maybe Mummy Dog, but definitely not Mummy Papa because we stole his soul and now he's mad at us. But I don't know if that anger extends to his son. And Cactus Girl leaves you alone as long as she's in her room. So I don't know if you can consider that friends, you know? Neko Zombie gives a vibe to someone who knows it's too late for them, but not for you so it'll help you. I think that's very much what it is, yeah. Which is nice. Okay, let's see. Got that one, Hell Chef. Every time Hell Chef swings his cleaver, the earth shakes. It really could cut through an elephant. Preparing food, so he's in the kitchen. TV fish. Roulette boy. Roulette boy is strolling happily like he's riding a roulette wheel. Okay, where's he now? Oh, he's in the dining room together with Hell Chef. Interesting. Actually, I should go up and spy on them just a little bit. Just so I can record that in the memos. No one there, hope. Nope, seems good. I think maybe if you approach a door too quickly, then they'll like hear you coming and they'll go check. Well, that's nice. What? It didn't let me read the last bit, that's annoying. Oh well. We know it appears just before noon. But we don't know what to do about it yet. Because even if we get it, how are we gonna get its soul, you know? Also, I wonder what would appear on its screen if we were to look at it into it with like this player character, you know? Also, I kind of wish that the clock was digital. That's easier for me to read. Good job on a the yawn counter also. Feels like the first yawn in quite a while. Certainly not on this stream. I've yawned a bunch on this stream already today. Gregory doesn't know about you yet. No. But he's probably realized that something's going on. Be careful, watch out for him. Okay, I will avoid him from now on, I guess. Is, I think, what that means. Let's go ahead and save the game while we're here.
Save
this game.
Ribbit.
Ribbit. Ribbit. Okay, let's see. What do we do? He's there. I have no idea what to do about Roulette Boy yet. I forgot to go 3 floors down. Oh god. Okay, we gotta explore the basement more. Let's get some stuff over here. Oh, only one? Big sad. Oh well. So we're not gonna find TV fish yet. Let's see. Okay. So there's stairs over here, and there's stairs all the way on the other end of the screen. One of them I think takes us further down, definitely. But I think the other one takes us up because there's another staircase. But I think that one's locked, so we don't have the key for that yet. And I'm thinking that this one, the closer one, is the one that goes back up. I believe. So the one all the way on the far end of the screen, that's the one that takes us further down, which makes sense because that's like, ooh, more challenging to try to get further down, you know? Still, we're gonna go look. We'll go look over here first, see if there's anything for us to get. Any items? Plus, the map just kind of... It just kind of goes. Where does that go, you know? Just goes off the map. It's moving up with my partner! Have a nice Gregory night. Okay, have fun with your partner, Melton off. Thanks for coming. There's a big double door. Let's see... Oh! Wait. Is this Roulette Boy's room then? Can I go in? Yes. Wait. The sexy has a face. I thought it was gonna look at me, but it doesn't. The fact that it says, "Do you remember me?" is kind of unnerving, though. Like, no, I don't, actually. I genuinely don't even remember this character. I feel very bad now. I think it's, like, definitely a character in, like, one of the later seasons, but I just don't remember them. Oh, I remember now. Yeah, okay, I remember. Can I just go in here right now? No, okay. Makes sense. Yes, okay, I remember that room. I remember what it's for. It's kind of crazy how much how much power Roulette Boy has. Wait, I remember him! Also, we have a problem, which is that Roulette Boy is coming this way. I gotta get to those stairs quick. Shit. If I can get to the stairs, I should be able to avoid him. Okay, so these stairs do go up. Wait, no, that's what I thought. But, that's how we open the gate, just from the other end. Okay, we're good. Cool. So now we have that. Okay. So now we're gonna go back to the yard. Or actually... I don't think we've ever been in the nurse's office before. So let's see if we can find anything now. I guess not. Oh! What? It's 9 p.m., which means it's time to take a 20 or so minute break. While I do my ester gel. And when we come back, we'll continue exploring the basement. So during this little break, I'll play some nice music for you, some spooky music. And if you guys have any medicine that you have to take, please remember to do so. Remember to stay hydrated, get some snackies, stretch your leggies. And I will see you guys after the break. Okay, see you guys. Ooh. Wow. 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 Ah. Hello, everyone. I hope you had a good break. Woo. Hello, for the stars. Hello, everyone. Hi. I hope you had a good break. If you're just joining us now, then I hope you had a good whatever the hell you were doing instead of the break. Do I have anything interesting to say? No. So let's get to it. Let's get back to exploring the dungeon. Hold on. There we go. Let's see. We were running away from Roulette Boy. Roulette Boy who went to the dining room? No. Was in the dining room earlier, now is back down there. Okay. Just this way? No, this way? No, this way. This way. So if you are just... Wait. Should that already be there? Should we already have a nameplate? And they're not even there yet? But if you're just joining us, we are playing Gregory Horror Show. And we are tired. So I guess we're gonna go to bed. Shit. Oh shit. Oh god. Oh no. Oh no! No! Well, that sucked. I was totally cornered.
My doll. My doll.
Good. Are you gonna go? Okay.
Give it back! The doll she's looking for is me!
Oh no, so scary. But yeah, I don't know if I could have escaped from that anyway. Shit, okay, you don't look so good yourself. Oh, you went upstairs. They could have caught me, I think. They can move between floors. If Losdal hadn't gotten me immediately, then Mummy Papa probably would have gotten me though. Let's see. I gotta get back to my room so I can go to bed. Wonder Laney, hello. Thank you very much for following. Welcome. So if oh, oké, in Nederlands is goed. Dus ik moet naar mijn kamer zien te komen. Maar er zijn nu allemaal gasten rond in die gang daar. Dus het wordt even moeilijk. Ik weet niet of een van die gasten naar de tweede verdieping, of naar de eerste verdieping komt. Dus... Wacht. Hè? Wacht. Neko Zombie is in the courtyard. Is in the garden. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's super interesting. I feel like we should go over there now and see what they're up to. He might attack me though, because he gets into a frenzy sometimes. I love your model. Thank you, I made it. And I love this game, so I saw you streaming it and I had to join. Nice, awesome. I also love this game. Yeah, good for them. Okay, so we're gonna go downstairs then. Oh, no, we're also angry now, fuck. What was that? Maybe if I stand here, Catherine won't see me. Nope, never mind. I don't know why I thought that would work. Shit. Fuck. Oh god, no. No, 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 no. Okay, I'm a little bit faster. Okay, what's going on below me right now? Okay, good, 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 good. Down the stairs, down the stairs, down the stairs, down the stairs. Downstairs. Go, 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 go. Okay. Okay, that was close. I was gonna get horror shelled, but I didn't. I escaped. Okay, 8 in the morning. Got it. The 3rd floor of the basement. Alright. Catherine, what about you?
Huh?
Sometimes around this time of day. You can see the fish, I assume. I did a fish at the 3rd floor of the basement. Alright, okay.
What could this be?
Some days it's there and some days it's not. Just don't understand what makes fish tick. Fish tick, I think that's just like made in like a factory, you know? They put all the fish and they press them into little bars. They make fish sticks, you know? It's the RNG fish. I want to learn how to make low poly stuff myself. Would you ever consider making a tutorial or streaming your low poly workflow? Yeah, sometimes I do low poly streams. I haven't done one in a while because I just haven't been doing low poly things in a bit. I've been busy with being at in a really big art block. But I will again. It will happen again. I don't think I'll ever make a tutorial though. I'm just not really good at that. if you know, I don't trust my own abilities to be able to make a good tutorial. But I'm sure you can find stuff out there. Have you ever watched the actual Gregory Horror Show, like the TV show? Yes, I've watched the full show. I've read the manga. I own the board game with almost all the figures. I'm a big fan. Reminds me of when Kanye used to just be a gay fish, and that was it. That was the joke. Yep. Okay, bigger mental gauge, nice. Are we still tired? Yep, we all are. Okay. So let's go to sleep and then get some antacid. Antacid? You know, the thing against being angry. Not tired, good. And our items, okay, we have 2 green herbs, that's good. Probably should have looked first, but we're okay.
Egg.
Egg. Does reading actually give you a bigger gauge, or does it just fill it? It does both. You don't see it being bigger because it's still just a circle, but it does increase. Space Junk, thank you very much for your egg, and hello. I just got it right, so angry, because we got spooked real bad, and we're angry about that. Is that? I think that's just. It's just James, right? Yes, it is. Okay. Oh wait, the England character has gone from terrified of everything to being angry at them all. I think that's very funny about the main characters, that they aren't just like, they aren't just wallowing in misery. They're like annoyed by things and stuff, and their funny descriptions of the things are often full of spite. It's cute. Okay, medicine, and then antacid, green herbs. Oops. Not just oh no, but more of a oh this again. I know that's exactly what it is. It's just like God, I can't believe I'm still doing this shit. Fuck. Alright, so now we're good, although it is dark because of how late it is. Let's see, 3 a.m. I guess we can start trying to explore the basement some more. We can cut through the kitchen right now, that's good. Although I should save the game first. Let me get the energy drink, I assume that's what this is. Do you like this era of horror such spooky games? PS1 and 2 era vibes? It's not so much the era that I like, it's just sort of the type of horror game where it like takes such a creative approach to horror rather than just being like, okay, it's not that I dislike something like Resident Evil or Silent Hill at all, but they do tend to just be the most common types of horror games, and I like games like this that have a very interesting appearance and gameplay loop to it, you know? Pick it up. And in general, I think I just really like unique video games like this. Like, there aren't really any video games like Gregory Horror Show Soul Collector out there aside from Gregory Horror Soul Collector, you know? Okay, we'll go save real quick and then we'll go into the basement. So wait, does the cactus guy murder you with a gun or with flirtation? I remember it changes depending on something. Really? I only remember the gun. Where am I? Right, this way. But it's been a while since I played it, so I don't remember everything because I have a dumb brain.
Save.
I've been thinking... Save this game? Ribbit. I've been thinking about what you said about Season 1, and I cannot imagine how mentally destroying it must be to finally escape torture and peril, only to realize not only did you willingly go there, but you prefer that. That's what I'm saying! The first season is so dark. You would rather be in a horrible limbo where you're constantly being tortured and in danger of being... at the hands of these freaks, than live a normal, peaceful, but boring life. You'd rather have something happen to you, even if it's terrible. That's fucked up, you know? It's so wild and cool and terrifying. Have you heard of Illbleed? I have. That one is so weird and wild and similar to Gregory Horror Show in that I cannot think of a single game like it. Illbleed is also very good. It's sort of like a parody of like games like Resident Evil, I feel. You know, in a sense almost. It is very good. I've never played it myself, but I have seen playthroughs of it. I do also like how fucking wild that one is. Alright, so now we're gonna go to the basement. Although before we do, I guess we should check where... Okay, Roulette Boy's all the way over there, so... If I'm fast, I might be able to hide in one of the rooms before he passes. If I remember correctly, that's literally what happens. He weaponizes blowing kisses at you. Okay. Maybe that's just not something I ever saw because I didn't get caught by him at that point. I don't think we're gonna make it in time. Oh god, Health Chef is over there. Shit. Okay, okay, we'll just go back up. We'll just wait for them to both to pass. Although, no, I should be... Okay, no. Because there's two hallways, so I could avoid one of them, but maybe the other one wouldn't go into the hallway. I'm not gonna risk it. We'll go this way. Hi, Greg. Okay, the two of them are in there. Wait, huh? How did... What? How the fuck did... Oh wait, he's just like, okay. I was gonna be like, what, how is Health Chef already on this floor? But he's just coming up the stairs, I assume. I don't know for sure. It could just be another Devil Joe eats his own tail situation. I can imagine it. You're saying that, and it rings a little bit of a bell that his disposition towards you changes at some point. I just don't really remember for sure. So I guess we'll find out. Okay, so I assume Health Chef is gonna go into the kitchen since that's like his domain, but we don't know for sure, so I guess we'll just find out. We should be able to just stand here and wait for a little bit. Have a little chat with Gregory.
Ah, how nice to see you. And what can I do for you? Huh?
Huh?
Where did you find... Oh no!
I forgot I had the erotic magazine
I'm
equipped.
afraid I'll have to confiscate it.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't actually know where else.
Not to make too much of
What
a
else I'm
fuss.
supposed to use it for right now?
Now then.
And it says someone picked up the book that I lost, which... I'm not sure what... Oh, fuck. Oh, he runs away from me right now because I don't have a soul yet. Okay. That's good to know. Yeah, I don't know what that message means. With the... Someone picked up the book that I lost. I'm not sure. What is he, a cop? Where does he get off stealing your stuff? To be fair, that's his stuff. That is his pornographic magazine that I just have with me because I figured I might be able to use it at something at some point, but I don't actually think so. Okay, I don't know where Roulette Boy's going right now. Let's find out. Okay, he's going that way. He's going up, so that's good. That means we have free reign to go to the next floor of the basement. You stole the porn you stole? Yep. Correct. Theft is based if you aren't a cop. True. Definitely true. Unless you're thefting from, like, really worse off people. Theft is based if you're stealing from a cop. Anything here? Oh, there is something here. Hello. I don't remember this. Let's kind of switch. Okay. Maybe I do remember this. Do you close those gates back there with the numbered rooms? Well, you opened something or closed something. Definitely sounded like a gate. Or it just sounded a steel door opening somewhere. Okay. Oh, maybe one of the steel gates was closed and this just opened it.
Egg.
Egg. Ashley Miami. Thank you very much for your egg. Well, this gate sure is open now, but again, I don't remember if it was open originally, because we didn't go there. So I guess we'll never know. In any case... I wanna... go this way. I like the music in the basement a lot, it's very fun. What time is it now? Okay, we don't have the map yet. Roulette Boy is skulking around. I don't know if he goes this low though. Weed. Perfect. Red! Oh, but we can't carry it, dang it. Okay, hold on. I'll have two green hearts. There we go. Okay. Speed up. Someone might leave another one here later. Okay, cool. I don't think we're gonna be encountering anything here. I feel like the only things you can encounter down here are the TV fish and Roulette Boy is behind us, so... Oh, a map, good. Oh my god. What is this design? Who did this? You know? Considering how much Resident Evil DNA is in this game, do you think the girl player character model is meant to look like kind of like Claire Redfield? Huh. I can definitely see a bit of a resemblance. I wonder. I don't know if the player character designs were also made by the original creator Naomi, so... I mean, if not, then or if they are, then the chance is smaller, but it's not impossible. It's also not a very unique girl character design per se, but it's possible. I think it's possible. Okay, well, we have to go to the 3rd floor though, so let's not go through this whole spiral right now. Because it kind of depends on what the boy looks like. If it looks like Leon or something, then that's a sure thing. I'm gonna be honest, I feel like all these characters look simple enough. Like they could. I feel like they could all just be. I think they could be based on Claire and Leon, but also I feel like the character designs are so simple that it's impossible to say whether it's on purpose or not without like a source. Anyway, we are now on the 3rd floor. So we're gonna be hanging around here for a little bit until it's about 8. Because that's when a TV fish pops up. Got a banana, but I don't. And then once the TV fish pops up, I have no idea what we'll do. Because there's a bunch of, oh, those are not bones, those are sticks, okay. Because I don't have enough information about the TV fish yet to know what we're supposed to be doing when we find it. And I don't remember, also. I want to say you can just grab it, but I don't... Oh, wait, I know! I just figured it out. We got the TV remote. The dead remote. Use EM waves to control machines. Some of them might be dangerous. Okay, yes, that's it. We need to get the batteries for the remote, and then we can turn TV fish off. That's what it is. So now all we have to do is like find the map. Nope. That is something that I would like to have though. I'll use the speed up so we can go through here a little bit faster before the fish shows up. Okay, sure, let's do that. I want to find the map to see if there's like another way in or out here. And then we'll go back up and get the batteries. Okay. It says 30 minutes. Does it mean in-game or IRL 30 minutes? That's... I don't know. Given how much of this game is like time-bound, I feel like it could very easily mean in-game. Guess we'll find out. Okay, got the map. And it's a dead end. There is a room all the way at the end though. But I don't really want to encounter... Yeah, we're gonna leave because I do not want to encounter TV fish if we can't actually fight it. Because TV fish is scary. Nope, still can't hold it. Inventory full. 30 minutes seems pretty long. That's true. 30 real life minutes would be very long. Let's see. Okay, that's Judgment Boy, so that's okay. I assume. Who knows, maybe Judgment Boy is mean to you when he's down here. Probably not, though. Judgment Boy has never been shown to be that malicious. Oh. Huh. Wait. I should not be here. This is the wrong place. I wonder how I can open those steel plates. I mean, it's not those big gears that I've been turning, so I don't really know what those did then. I don't remember. Evil and fucked up Judgment. But he's supposed to be like our centrist friend. Who just sort of stands by and lets all this happen. Also, the speed ended, so it was definitely 30 in-game minutes. This way, I think. Maybe? Yes. Judgment Boy's paychecks entirely go into buying more heart and dollar sign crystals to drop. If he just didn't drop them to break, like, this wouldn't be an issue, you know? Just get, like, special novelty ones that, like, are made of plastic and they're, like, 2 interlocking segments, so when you drop them, they still break, quote-unquote, but they actually just, like, get disconnected and you can just click them back together again, you know? It's not a big deal, come on. This way? We should be able to just... Let's see what's... Yeah, okay. That boy is just in his room, so we should be fine. Well, the thing is, the reason why he doesn't buy... Why he keeps buying actual crystals and stuff is because he has these interns, and if the interns aren't there to sweep the broken shards off the floor, then what's the point? Oh, chef is in the room. Or rather, in the garden, which is not a room. Okay, should be able to just go home. We're gonna need to gather up some materials. If only I could have gotten some... Oops, that's the wrong place. Some new weed from the garden, but that's where Hell's chef is right now. Got anything to say? Okay, guess not. Who's that? Oh, it's just James. That's okay. No problem there.
Save
this game.
Ribbit.
Ribbit. Judgment Boy be like, there is a trolley speeding towards 5 people tied to the tracks. You are standing next to the lever that will switch to some other tracks where 1 person is tied. Do you pull the lever? And then call you a selfish bitch whichever way you answer. He would. Yeah, Drift, just get both of them. That way, everyone's happy. Hello. Okay, we got a book. Which we can read. Judgment! Which is better, bananas or chocolate? Which is it, chat? What would you pick? Could the ghosts of my past stop being so fucking annoying every time I wake up from a nap or do a bit of reading? Chocolate, chocolate. Strawberry is not an option, sorry. Banana or chocolate? Okay, let's see. Okay, so we also still need Roulette Boy's soul. No idea how we're supposed to get that one. I know that that there is a way to like need to play his game. Maybe we just need to win it. You know? Just like the prize of the game is like getting the soul. I feel like that's very well possible. Banana, chocolate, chocolate. I love banana flavor, but bananas themselves are the autistic forbidden texture. That's fair. Personally, I love bananas, even if I'm slightly allergic to them and I get like that spicy mouthfeel, you know? I think we've gotten this one before. It's time for you to learn the true meaning of fear. Prepare to meet your doom, Gregory. Get fucked, Greg. Bananas are one of the best things ever happened in a fruit game, in my opinion. I love a good banana. I also love a pear. I'm very pear-pilled right now. Big pear brain, currently. I've got some pears, I'm eating them. They're good. I love a pear. Like, they have such a nice, soft, sweet flavor that you bite into and you're like, wow! You know? Ooh, I'm eating a pear, you know?
What a terrible bother.
Wait, does being... autistic give people texture issues? Because that explains a lot of true. Yeah, it does. I have that with a lot of lettuce. I cannot eat lettuce by itself. It has to be deeply. It has to like be a very integral part of a meal, like inside of a wrap or a burger. Otherwise, I cannot eat lettuce. Among other things. Explain why I hate beans so much. Yeah, I know that beans for a lot of autistic people can be quite common. Anyway, hello, how's it going? Pretty well. We are surviving. We have explored the basement, and now we just have to get batteries for a remote so we can turn off a ghost TV fish down there. Okay, no longer in the garden, so I can go in there. God, I need some pears. Write it on your shopping list. Get some pears next time you go. Uh-oh, we're tired. Okay. Green herb. And give me a red one? Or not. Oh, and I'm carrying too much too. Great. Alright then. Let me go ahead and spy on Hal Sheffer a little bit. Your most liked berry. That is definitely the strawberry. Easily. I love a strawberry. Okay, yeah, we've gotten this one. I wonder what the speedrun for this game looks like. Do you just like run past everyone, I assume? Grapes are the best thing to happen to the fruit game, in my opinion. Small, zero prep, can eat fruit while not really paying attention to it. Is strawberry even a berry? It's in the name! It's a strawberry. And like, if raspberry is a berry, then strawberry is a berry too. Because they're so similar, they grow on like almost the same plant. Quite fond of blackberries. They used to grow wild near my house as a kid. Aw. Did you know bananas are berries? Did you know bananas grow on grass? Sorry, Def S rank, but I think blueberries and raspberries are close second and third. Fruit tier list incoming. For me, it's definitely easily strawberry, but I don't think, are grapes berries? I don't know, but I do love grapes as well a lot. Like Jody says, you can eat fruit while not really paying attention to it. I love just buying a big box of grapes, and then just while I'm gaming or drawing or watching something, I'm just yum 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 yum. I'm just eating berries, you know. I've streamed a lot while eating berries, or not berries, grapes. You know, they are just so good. Now, I need to get some. Let's see. Okay, we've got a bunch of green ones, so I'll just get. Okay, I'll take the. Okay. 1, 2. Buckle my shoe. Okay, so it's 2 green and yellow. Yellow is 2, so it's 4. Okay, yeah, okay, we've got enough. I'll go get the batteries and then we'll go to bed. Just making sure there's nobody there. Seems good. Google says strawberry is not a berry, but is still best berry. Google is not your friend, and you cannot trust it on anything. Google is big sucks, you see. Sundries, battery. I guess they make it sold out so that you can see it, you know, so you can internalize that it is an item that is available, but you can't get it yet, so that you can't like waste it before you need it. And now that we do need it, we can buy it. That makes sense. I can't hear buckle my shoe without hearing Wario sing it. Agreed. Hee hee. Wahaha! 1, 2, buckle my shoe. 3, 4, knock on the door. No, buckle some more. It says buckle some more. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, no. Hold on, I need to see what the stew is worth. That's the wrong rhyme, but that's what he says in the video. Oh, this is worth 5. Damn. Yes. It's actually a good impression. Thank you so much. I'm pretty good. Okay, got that. And anything else we want? Sundries. Wasn't there something else that was also sold out? Yes, this one. Interesting. While we're here, we can get the final issue of Me and My Dolly. Using this yellow herb. No, I'm using these 2 green herbs. Mario, is that you? It's me, Mario! Hello! Blah. Wait, hold on, is she outside? No keyhole on this one, okay. Let's just go. Technical question, is the model you're using a 3D one? And do you know what software was used to make it? It is a 3D one, and I do know what software was used to make it, because I made it in Blender. As well as Unity. The model was made in Blender, and then in Unity it was made usable. You know? This in here. I can't believe there's 50 books in this game to find. You super don't need that. I'm the doll she's looking for, but there is also an actual doll out there, I guess. Yeah, but it's not the same. It's not the real doll. It's just something to pacify her. That's why it only works for. Ow! That's why it only works for a little bit. It's because eventually she figures out that it's not the right book, you know? Okay, what time is it? Oh, it's actually 8. Oh, damn! Well, we are not on the 3rd floor. So... Ow! We cannot go get, Oh wait, is it 8 p.m.? Oh, it's 8 p.m. Okay, so... In 12 hours, we have to be on the 3rd floor. Okay, I'm gonna go save, and then... What the hell, dude? Why are you just like standing next to our door like that? Fucked up. Zoe would be the new voice of Mario if she wasn't at war with Nintendo. Not true, they definitely should have hired me. I would have done a great job. I can voice all of them. Luigi not so good, but well enough, I guess. I could have done Mario though. Definitely Mario. Okay, so what does the memo say about what Hell's Chef is doing right now? Oh, purple? The fuck is a purple? Okay, maybe that means that they're in the basement? Listening in, Hell's Chef seems to have a really deep-rooted persecution complex. Okay. Charlie can stay Luigi, but you'd definitely be a good Mario. But Charlie isn't Luigi either. Charlie retired. Okay, seems like he's leaving. But I want to get to the basement. Because I want to see what happens if I... Oh, wait, look, okay. Okay, you guys can see it very well, hold on. Up there, Roulette Boy is in the room, but you can barely see it. But Mummy Dog is in there too. So they're there together, they're like hanging out, because they're both kids together, I think. Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny. Oh, you meant Charlie as in Charlie, not Charles Martinet. I see. Shit. I thought I heard something behind me. That was weird. And I got distracted, so that's why I stopped. I was into Gregory Horror Show around the time the first FNAF game came out, and as a result, I assumed FNAF would be a hotel-based horror game like this game is. What an odd little assumption, but alright. No, FNAF could never be a good game, that would be silly. Something 2 nickels every time Luigi was voiced by a guy named Charlie. Yeah, but like, it's getting old at this point, y'all. Come on. Let him be voiced by a girl named Zoe already. I was a kid, so that's probably why. Fair enough. Weird to think that there were like that people were into FNAF when they were little kids, but they aren't anymore. That's weird. It's not actually weird, but it feels weird. You know how it goes. Okay, wait, actually I should make sure I have some sanity stuff with me before we go down there. Damn, the passage of time. We'll take a yellow one with us. There we go. My thought was 5 nights? Oh, 5 nights at a hotel! Okay, you know what? That makes sense. I get it, actually. That does sound more sensible than 5 nights of working as a night guard.
Save.
I learned about Gregory Horror Show 2 weeks ago, so I assumed Judgment Boy was transphobic, like every FNAF animatronic. That's canon, that's true. All the FNAF animatronics are every kind of phobic. Save this game. Ribbit. Okay, so let's see how things are looking down there. Okay, they are still playing, so hopefully I'll be able to get there in time. Cactus Gunman. So you had a soul too. Lost soul, yeah, there were lots of them in that room. Oh. So I just took one. It was so... Who's that? Who's coming out? Is it Catherine? Okay, Catherine's coming out. Let's go over here real quick. Did she just go back inside? God, can she fucking stop being so goddamn paranoid? She keeps doing that. She just keeps like stepping outside of her room to scare me and then just go right back inside. Like, fuck off. Okay, come on. So you had a soul too, says Cactus Gunman. And then Lost Soul says, yeah, there were lots of them in that room. So I just took one. It was so pretty, like treasure. But then Zoe took it from me. I did. Yay me. Is that it? Okay, that's it. Alright. I hear someone walking. I'm scared. I'm gonna go into the basement now. Okay, we're gonna... I don't know if he follows me into the basement. Okay, he does not. Good to know. Phew. Okay. Whew. Zoe, have you gotten enough donations for Songs Starry Supers? I have gotten enough, as you can see down here, for a copy for myself. And that is enough, and I do really appreciate it. But since I'm going to be playing it in co-op with Daya, we decided that any donation money above the original amount would help fund their copy. So if we get to 120, then it's like the it's a double amount, so then it's both copies. But it's already, we basically already reached it. Oh, also, I'll say this, unless something changes, the next donation goal is going to be an Animal Crossing Lego set, because I don't know if you know this, but those are gonna come. They're making those. We have pictures and we have a price range, and there is one that has Nuke's shop and Rosie's house. So you get 2 buildings in one set, and that one looks very nice, and I like it. The Nuke's shop, where you buy nukes, you know? No, Nuke, Tom Nook's shop, you know? I would like to get that set and build it on stream. Yeah, they don't come out until March, which is big sucks. So it's very well possible that we'll have a different donation goal before then, but that's gonna be the next donation goal in any case. $75, which is pretty pricey, but I think it'd be fun to build on stream, you know? But yes, as for your question about the Sonic Superstars, yes, we basically reached it. We reached it, and any extra donations will be a bonus. So, obviously, we don't have to reach 120 in order to fund Daya's copy of the game. It's just that, then we can fully fund it. You know what I mean? Like, right now we're just funding part of it. You get it. It makes sense. Honestly, being stuck at a haunted hotel for 5 nights makes way more sense than continuing to go back to work in a building where robots are trying to murder you. Yeah, FNAF is very dumb and stupid and bad, is the thing about it. Anyway, we're done here now. Okay, so they're there. What time is it now? Okay, yeah, it's still a while until 8 a.m. So let's go check on Roulette Boy and... Never mind. Let's be big scared instead. What do we do? Okay, hold on. If I go in this room... then I should be able to listen in on Roulette Boy as he comes by. Which I assume he does. I assume that Mummy Dog will go back up. Oh!
Might as well get the extra bit.
Thank you very much, Dayaga. Thank you so much. Wow! We've reached the super duper double goal now. That is so nice. Thank you very much. Daya, if you're in chat, I don't know if you are, but if you are, then yay! We get to just pay for your entire copy now. How nice. Thank you very much, everyone, for your donations. I really appreciate that. Daya's at work. Yeah, but just because they're at work doesn't mean they're not watching my stream. Come now. I guess now we have to think of a new donation. I mean, if I can think of anything, then we just don't have a specific donation goal for a while, and whatever money I get just is eventually used for something, a game, or new equipment or something, you know? Yeah, see, Dayaga's at work and Dayaga's watching me. What's Daya's excuse? Oh, you killed them. Yeah, that'll do it. Wait, Gregory is down here? That's interesting. I haven't seen him down here before. What about the Jenny? The Jenny plushie. The Jenny plushie. But that's not something for stream, though. It'll be something to vote at. See, Cumber Cake also at work. Daya has no excuse whatsoever. Daya should be watching my streams right now. Kiva Fox is at home, working from home. I know that Daya sometimes works from home. So come on, you know? Anyway, obviously I'm not actually blaming anyone. But yeah, they're gonna make a Jenny Wakeman, My Life as a Teenage Robot plushie, and I'm so excited. So I guess that could be a temporary donation goal, maybe. We'll see. I kind of want to order as soon as possible, though, just to make sure that I can get one. We'll see what I do, I guess. And anyway, in any case, right now the donation goal has been... Completely fulfilled. Oh, very clever space junk. Diaphines should be watching your streams while reading a nice book about Tahu. This is the key to happiness. Very clever. Okay, here he comes. There's a whole bunch today, too. Ow. A whole bunch of junk in the basement. Gregory worked really hard to clean it up. Okay. So, items just keep appearing in the basement. Ow. Items just keep appearing in the basement, it seems, which is interesting. I like to look for ways to be funny. I gotta say, I do love when people show off such a wide berth of knowledge on stream things. That is very it's endearing. Anyway, wait, did we actually hold on a second? I need to use the battery. Yeah, use the batteries, and now the remote is a remote control. Now the remote has... Okay. Using M waves to control the machines. Some of them might be dangerous. Okay, so... Now we have the remote control. And we are going to have to make our way down... Eewee! Yeah. I wonder if people such as Katie or Ellie would find these jokes funny. Come on! That one's kind of cheap. Also, Crimson Fletcher, hello, welcome. Alright, let's get a hold of... Ow! That's a great, clever ruse. Let's get some items here. Okay, alright. Let's use a green herb. Guess we can also just use a yellow. No, we're good. Where is... Okay, that boy is down there right now. I'll start walking. And then look again. Okay. Alright, so the roulette boy is coming back up. Ow. Ow. Okay, come on that way. And come on, which way are you gonna go? Okay, so this way? Yes, I have to go this way. Nobody here, that's correct, that's totally right.
Car battery!
Ow, fuck. That was exactly timed with the game giving me a little scare. Next donation is pay to mods. I would love to be able to pay my mods. What happens if I look at you right now? Oh, you're not too far away. Alright then. Okay. It'd be nice if I had enough money to pay my mods for their services. It's fine, I do it for the love of the sport. You do it for the power. Also, we've been going for almost 3.5 hours, so what I want to do is I want to see if we can get... TV fish, and then we're gonna go save. This way. There it is. Although now I guess we just have to stand around for a while. A significant while. Maybe I should have bought a time fruit. Good mods are quite a gem. You could even call them Jules. So sorry, Jules doesn't have a does not have a pixel head. I haven't collabed with Jules before, so sadly, no. Sorry. Well, I guess since we have so much time, we might as well go see what's at the end of this floor. Yeah, nice try. It was a nice try. It was a good pun. Ow. There's more roulette stuff here, it seems. Yeah, AOL works. Is this... I think... Does every floor... Yeah, I think every floor has a roulette room. And an egg. Crimson Flasher. Thank you very much for your egg. One more and we complete the second egg stack. Now... Ow. Mistral, that won't work as well. Do you remember me? Chat, do you remember me? Oh, Roco doesn't work? Maybe Rococo? Try Rococo? Because that should definitely... Did I not put Roco on the screen? Weep! Who? Ooh. That's no good. I can't believe I didn't add her. Hey, that's so sad. That's big sucks. Mistral is kind of hard for casual viewers. Yeah, Mistral doesn't really go on stream anymore. She decided that like being in the spotlight wasn't really for her, so we just hang out casually now. Which, I mean, we already did, but like only casually. You know. But if someone could put Rococo on the stream suggestions or something, that I have to add her to the screen, that would be nice, because I should. Because we have... Because we have collabed. I don't really feel like just standing around here for a really long time. I think we'll just come back late next time. We'll just make our way back to our room now, and yes, correct. And end the stream there for today, because I do have some other things to do tonight still. We have to watch a whole mini-series still. So I'd prefer not to go on for too long. If that's alright with y'all. Bum, bum. We might have to invest in getting a time fruit, because if that lets you choose the time that you wait for, which I think it does, then that would be really useful to get TV fish. I hope my stream suggestion tells you all you need to know. I don't know, I haven't read it yet, but I'm sure you did a great job. Don't worry, the hiccups are already gone. Are there any secret throwables that people don't know about? I don't think so. I feel like all the ones that we have, you guys have already discovered. I'm just gonna go spy on Roulette Boy for a second. Hope that he doesn't come out just not like right now. Ow! Don't walk to the door. That's weird. That's weird. Why is there a fish in the bar? The bar? I thought it was supposed to be in the basement around this time. What? The bar? Maybe this fish likes to drink. Okay. So it appears in more than one place. At 2 p.m. it appears, or 2 a.m. it appears in the bar. That is very good information. Maybe we can do it tonight after all. How does the meter on the top left work?
Car battery!
Ow! That is the, it is my sanity meter, or actually my, what's it called? Mental gauge. And it goes down constantly. Just all the time, it's always draining. But when especially scary things happen to us, or when we have certain status ailments, it drains faster. And if it runs all the way out, then we lose our sanity and we'll be stuck in this hotel forever, which is not what you want to happen. Right, I assume it's not here anymore. It does seem awfully dark in there, though. Okay, I don't think it's in there, because 2 p.m. already passed, or 2 a.m. already passed, but it's something to remember for next time. It's kind of like the meter from Moon RPG. I haven't played Moon RPG, but I am very interested in it. Oops. I can imagine it's like that. Sanity meters are not a unique thing to this game, of course. They pop up every now and then. But I do feel like this game like really focuses on it entirely, which is good. You're always managing your sanity. Anyway, let's go to bed. We go to bed, and then we save the game, and then that'll be the end of the stream for today. It's a bit of a shame that we're not ending on a high note of getting another soul, but it's fine. That was refreshing. Somehow I feel full of hope. Oh, we got another figure. Let's see. Dog. Something... okay. I need you guys to tell me, because I have a phobia for dogs, so I don't know if, like, knowing this is a dog somehow just makes it worse for me. But does Mummy Dog's face just look really fucking uncomfortable? Or is that just me? Just looks weird, yes. That's good to know. It looks like he's in pain. He is, always. He is, in fact, just always in pain. Weird, but no more than the other characters, in my opinion. Huh. Yeah, to me, there's something specifically about Mummy Dog that does it for me. That freaks me out just a little bit more. Okay, no one around. It's almost as though he's an X in his head. It's largely the eyes, but there's always also something about the mouth. I do tend to just be very uncomfortable with, like, seeing a dog's teeth.
Save this game. Ribbit.
Ribbit. I think it might be a combination. Maybe it's just like a weird face and also my phobia for dogs that does it. Gonna save again just to be sure. This how you game, baby. I wonder how you get the figures. I don't know what the requirements for them are. Anyway. That'll be it for today. Return. That is not the return I wanted. Options. Return. Nope. Load game. Nope. Don't think you can come back to the main menu. Oh well. Sounds like a very unfun phobia. It is! it's a very unfun phobia when the world is so, like, when society is so based around dogs just being allowed to go everywhere and stuff, and a lot of dog owners being really shitty and just letting their dogs roam free and stuff when they know that their dogs might, you know, make people uncomfortable, like jump at people and stuff, and then just like, oh, but he doesn't bite, and it's like, that doesn't fucking matter, I have a phobia, you know? Keep your dog on a leash, it says it on the sign. Fucking do it, you know? Or when your friend has dogs that like to bark out of nowhere. Yeah, that happens often too, sadly. Luckily, my friends are very understanding of it, so they're good about it, you know? Anyway, a bit of a abruptish end to the stream, perhaps. But, this is really good. I love this game. It's so fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. We'll be back with more Gregory Horror Show next week, but later this week, in 2 days, on Thursday, I'll be playing more Luigi's Mansion, appropriately, because this music is Luigi's Mansion, but not from Luigi's Mansion, from Mario Kart DS.
Wow, good.
And if you want to get updates on when I go live and whatever the fuck, exclamation point links in chat, and you get a link that leads to my little website that has all my links on it, real nice and clean. They're nice and labeled. It's only the information that you need. It's really nice. I'm very happy with it. It looks nice. All the things that I do and have that you might possibly want are on there, so you can look at them, etc. Oh, and the Discord is obviously the best place to stay up to date with what I do, but you don't have to join the whole community if you don't want to, because it's scary, or you just don't fucking feel like it. There's no pressure at all, because if you just join the Discord, you get the stream announcements channel, and a channel explaining how to get into the full server if you want to, but again, there's no pressure at all, it's totally fine. I assume that the last stream will be the last one, maybe? The next Gregory Horror Show stream that is not Luigi's Mansion. It will not be my last stream, obviously. But like next week when we stream Gregory Horror Show again, I assume it'll be the last one, because we only need... I guess we need 6. I guess we're only halfway there. Okay, maybe not. Maybe it won't be the last stream. We'll see. We'll find out, I guess. It won't be your curse to Greg for all eternity. No, it is I who is stuck in Gregory house. Hey, you know what though? If I get to be a Spooky Ookie resident of the house and get to hang out with the other Spooky Ookie residents and spook new people, like, you know, like lost souls that end up here and stuff, that'd be pretty fun. I'd have fun, I think. And like, I would only spook them a little. I wouldn't be evil at them. I wouldn't try to kill them or anything, you know? I'd have a good time. I think it'd be fun if I was... Imagine me in there. They don't have ghosts. There's no actual ghosts, right? I guess it's because you're the ghost. The player character is kind of like a ghost. TV Fish is like almost a ghost. But there's not like a proper ghost, I feel. So that could be me, Spectral Queen. I could be in there. You could totally put me in there. And you have names like Mummy Papa, Mummy Dog, Cactus Gunman, TV Fish, Lost Doll, Judgment Boy, Neko Zombie, Roulette Boy. Spectral Queen fits right in. Put me in there. Put me in, coach. I want to be in there, and I want to scare the lost souls. I'd have fun. I'd have a good time. That's cute. That's a cute concept. And I would beat up Cactus Gunman, and then Cactus Girl would become my sister, and I would be a better sibling, you know? I was actually thinking of doing that art of that during stream today. Woo! I would love it if you did, but no pressure. Anyway, I'd find it funny if you could mod your model into Luigi's Mansion too. That also would be really funny. Ow! But I don't know how to mod things, so usually anyway, unless you have dedicated tools that I know how to use. Hi Daya! Hi, how you doing? I'm imagining. Good. Is it a wonderful imagination that you're having? Let's see, we are going to raid someone How about we raid Holotones? And thank you very much also for giving Daya a shout out. The player can give you Gregory weed in return. You'll punch someone for them. That's cute. That's fun too. All right. Oh, also yes, Daya, you get Sonic. We got double the funding, so I get to pay Sonic Superstars for you. Yay! Which is very nice. But okay, we're gonna read Holly. She's playing old school RuneScape, which is great. So that'll be very fun. If you don't know Holotones or Holly, very, very funny, very cool person. And also does very good voices. We love a good voices, don't we? The raid message will be greetings from the Gregory weed stash in the basement. That's the raid message. So once again, think. Ow! Wow! No, stop it. Don't. So once again, thank you guys so much for coming. I hope you really enjoyed the stream. And I hope to see you guys next time when we stream appropriately Luigi's Mansion. Yay! Alright, okay. So, I'm gonna go start the raid now. If you are not automatically brought along with the raid, just stay in chat and yippee! Just stay in chat and I will post a link in there as well. So did you? Yes, correct. I'm going. And then you can join as well. Okay. Goodbye, everyone. I really appreciate y'all. Goodbye.